Nothing says you're an OG YouTuber quite like dicing with death and putting a candle this close to your head. I could literally, my hair could go up in flames in one flick. Oh my God. I'm gonna spend the next 5 to 10 minutes justifying why I'm making this video. However, I actually think that this is probably going to be quite informative, maybe even, dare I say it, slightly interesting, because I've thought about making this for a while, and do you know what I realised when I thought about it? I realised I don't think I've actually ever made a video like this. So this video will be titled something like A Fresh Start, My Story, something like that. And yeah, I don't think I've ever actually sat down and told you properly about me. I think it's been sort of thread through vlogs, and there's little tidbits here and there. I did a 50 facts about me video like 100 years ago, but I never actually gave you any context to the person that I was. And I actually think that this is so important now, because I've been on the internet for 11 years, 11 years of my life, and to have not ever given context is probably my biggest issue. It's probably not, no, my biggest issue is my niche sense of humour. That's my biggest issue. But I'm such a different person to the person that started this channel like 7, 8 years ago. And I'm certainly a completely different person to the person that started my blog 11 years ago. So I feel like we need to get to know each other again. I've made notes, and I've then realised that I'm just writing a script. So I've then stopped making notes. And I feel like this is an accurate depiction of who I am as a person. I thought, let's start from the beginning. Let's go way back to Lydia and where she started, because I've often come across videos saying, you know, Lydia grew up in Milton Keynes. No, she did not. She did not grow up in Milton Keynes, okay? Nothing wrong with Milton Keynes. You know, I lived there for 4 years, but that's not the truth. Now, before we get into the nitty gritty of the video, I really wanted to make this video when I hit 1 million followers, but I think I'll be collecting my pension by the time I hit 1 million followers. So I'm taking matters into my own hands, and no time like the present. But in all honesty, I wanted to make this at the beginning of the year as well. I wanted to make this when I announced Evergreen. I kind of wanted to introduce some new videos that were a little bit more contextualized rather than my all over the place vlogs. And I realised that there's never a good time for these things. So I am just taking matters into my own hands, and it's probably a bit random to just start this out of the blue. But what I've realised is if you keep putting something off for the perfect time, it never happens. So here we are, putting into this video my story from beginning to end, pretty much. And if you are one of those people that come to my channel hoping that I won't talk about myself and I won't faff with my hair, this video is not for you, okay? This is not for you. Just tune back in next week. Oh, please don't. Stay. I think it'd be quite funny. I'm in a great mood. Okay, so to go back to the very, very beginning, I was not, contrary to popular belief, born in Milton Keynes. I was actually born at Watford General Hospital to my parents, Anna and Harvey. I was the second child. My brother came 2 years, almost 3 years earlier, and obviously I was the apple of their eye, their blue-eyed girl. I was born in Watford General Hospital. I think I was 2 weeks premature, which I think most of us are, give or take. Your parents never really remember the actual date, do they? I actually grew up just outside of Watford. So the beginnings of my life, I grew up in a beautiful part of the world called Chorleywood. And my early days were really like idyllic. And I go into a lot more of this story in my book, but just to give you a quick sort of touch point. Shameless plug. I've written a book. It's called Evergreen. I'll link it in the description box down below. It's not an autobiography, just so that you know. It's in the description box. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. I grew up in Chorleywood, a really, really beautiful part of the world. And in all honesty, like, if you looked at my life back then, it was idyllic. Like, honestly, we had a beautiful house on a road called Haywood Park in Chorleywood. And, you know, there was a grand piano in the front living room. My mum was a keen pianist. But that didn't last long. My parents got divorced. Sorry to not have the happy ending. But it ended up with my mum moving to a very, very small mid-terrace house in Croxley Green, and my dad moving to a very, very plush bachelor pad in Northwood. And I feel like that really does give you a good idea of the sort of polar opposites of my life growing up, because it was, I think that that's something that I now can acknowledge, is that I lived almost between two worlds. Finally, we then moved to the house that I would live in up until the age of 19, which was also in Croxley Green. It was an end of terrace new build, and I grew up there with my mum and my brother. It was a single parent household, and my mum literally did her best with everything that she had. We had a really strained relationship for my early years. I think you kind of do that. You blame your parents for everything, and then as you get older, you're like, you were just doing your best, weren't you? And in fact, I think people on this channel will probably have seen the journey that I've been on over the last decade, where, you know, I didn't really talk to my mum, and now like I do, and it's just, you kind of have ebbs and flows in life. I went to primary school and secondary school in Chorleywood as well. I didn't actually enjoy school that much, but I think that that's because I'm a bit of a niche quiche. And the way that I learn, I think I can look and understand myself a little bit more and realise that I don't think that the general education system necessarily, I'm sure it does now, but when I was at school like 100 years ago, I don't think it really cultivated people that maybe think outside of things a little bit so much. And that's my good English being put to the best use there. But no, I don't think I was... I don't think that I was in my sort of prime position to learn when I was at school. There were a couple of teachers that really brought out the best in me. I had a maths teacher that the moment that she sort of came into the picture, I just flourished. She knew how to get the best out of me. And there was a few teachers like that, but all in all, I didn't really thrive at school. I was a keen sports player, but not really, I wasn't really that academic. I think it's really funny for me to look back now, because I love learning now. Like, I will just never stop learning. I love reading, I love listening to books, I love listening to podcasts, I love new skills. And so it definitely does suggest to me that I think that I just maybe I would have been one of those people that probably benefited more from like a Montessori style learning, where you just kind of do it yourself. I don't know if that's the actual way, but I think we're a lot more liberal nowadays with how we approach learning, and people have so much more experience under their belts. And I think that if I was to probably be part of the education system now, it'd be very, very different. But for the most part, I was uninspired, which is sad. I then went to college. I lasted a year, I dropped out, and then I spent about 6 months looking for a job. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. In all honesty, I was a bit lost. I was a bit of a lost possum. And I used to be quite ashamed of that, the fact that I just didn't really know where I wanted to go with anything. However, it's funny how life manages to just knock you onto certain paths when you don't realise it's happening. And I ended up securing, quite possibly, the best job for anyone in Watford. No, I'm going to say that, you know, all of the flashy jobs that you can get in Watford, which I don't know what they are because I wasn't applying for them, but I managed to secure myself what I would believe to be the best job in Watford at the time. I got myself a job at the End, Watford. Now, if anyone grew up in that kind of area, whether you were in Bushey, Croxley Green, Rickmansworth, Chorleywood, you knew the End. It was iconic because it was that fashion store that it was like before its time. I would say it was ASOS before the internet. They were taking those celebrity, designer-inspired pieces and finding them at much more affordable prices. And what they had there was really quite something special as well, because the owner, Robin, who is a huge, huge part of my story and my life, she cultivated a group of girls which, we were phenomenal. We were absolutely phenomenal because we were the unlikely cool girls, and I'm gonna wear this badge and I'm gonna own it. We were the unlikely cool girls. So we weren't the girls that were cool at school, but we were the girls that left school and just had something about them. And Robin just had an eye for all of us and brought us all together. And we loved every element of that job. I thrived. She really knew how to bring out different characteristics and qualities in you in a professional sense and also a personal sense. She gave me buying experience, merchandising experience, styling, all of those kinds of things. She really like cultivated and nurtured her team, and that is where I learned that I actually had a passion for fashion. I really wish that Bratz Dolls had not coined that phrase, because it's so, what else do you say? I really found that I loved fashion. Maybe I'll say that. And then I got my heart broken. I ended up having my heart broken by an Italian boy from Watford, and I left, I fled, and ended up living with my dad for a little while, and again continuing to work in fashion retail. And I think I ended up working, it was a huge chunk of my life that I worked in fashion retail, and I remember working for Topshop, and I left, and there are so many times in retail that you leave and you cry. Anyone that has worked in retail will know that there's wonderful sort of communities that you build in retail, but there is also, sometimes you would leave the shop floor and your arms are aching, your hips hurt, your feet hurt, especially in fashion, because in fashion you've got to look good too. And so, you know, you're there in your best outfit and your feet hurt and your back hurts, and you've dealt with the general public, which, you know, I love the general public, but my gosh, sometimes. And I can't even tell you some of the stories that I've had where, you know, people have thrown CDs in my face, and, you know, you've had people screaming at you for a refund, and you just have to be Anyone that's worked in retail, it's tough. And I realized that there was like this glass ceiling, and it was at that point where I decided that I was going to go to university, and from university my blog was born, because I realized that I missed the inspiration of being on the shop floor and the newness coming in, but I also had to actually like work and go to university as well and work on those kinds of things. And that was what inspired the blog, and it was such a niche thing back then. Like all of the cool people that you see doing influencing, as it's now called, it wasn't the done thing, okay? And like we were talking about this at a recent event, and it's almost like the coolness of the industry kind of like bypassed some of us. And I'm like, wait, hold on a minute, because everyone was making fun of us, but now hold on, now they're still making fun of us, but you've made it look cool. How did that happen? It's honestly like the funniest thing to sort of look back and just see that sort of transition and how it happened. So what you see now is like the influencer world, it's not what we were doing. A lot of us were socially awkward. I mean, I can only speak for myself in this, but didn't have a lot of friends and probably struggled to make friends, or you just had a really close-knit group of friends and they maybe didn't share in your passions for things. And so I went online, and there was this community of people that were doing this really cool thing. And at the time it was like the Lily Melrose, and going way back, you know, the Audrey B. Frassies. There was, who was the Scottish girl? And she was like, right now she would be like the biggest. What was her name? Her blog was called From Cats and Rocking Chairs, and she was just iconic, absolutely iconic. And then the sort of YouTube era came up, and blogging sort of took on a new element and became, I think, a little bit cooler. I'm also going massively off piece, but during this time I met my husband. I left my job that I'd got straight out of university, and I pursued this full time. I had blagged it, by the way, in the beginning, and I feel like that's something that I'm only confident to say now because it's obviously my career, but like I blagged. I hustled so hard in the beginning. I was working full time whilst going to events whenever I could, when jobs started coming, I was like having to navigate not having a job, but totally having a job, and fitting everything in around this before I was able to go full time. Nowadays, people are full time on blogs, and I'm like, I did not go full time until I had like 300,000 followers on Instagram, and even then I was like, I've got enough money in the bank to pay my mortgage for 6 months. Hope for the best. But the point to this video is I've now been in this industry for 11 years, give or take. And a lot has changed in both myself, the industry, and everything around me. And I felt like it was really important to make this video now because I want you to know who the new me is, and the new me may not be what you're hoping for. And I think that this is such an important time where, you know, the internet now is such a huge part of our lives. It felt unimportant back in the day, but nowadays it feels more important and more serious. And so I want you to be sure that you're following someone that you align with and you enjoy and that serves you as a person, because there is nothing worse than following someone and them irritating you, or you know, you not believing them, or you don't align with them. And this is this opportunity for me to sort of lay this new version of myself bare and almost introduce the new me, because my YouTube channel started so differently to what it is now. Chickens and dog walks and gardening were never on the cards for me. Okay, I think we can all agree, if you're still watching me this sort of like 8-7 years on, this was never on the cards. Okay, this was not part of the plan. And sometimes I'm like, how did I get here? But at the same point, I know exactly how I got here, and I'm so glad that I'm here and that I'm not still there. In the beginning, it was handbag collection videos, unboxing videos every week, shoe unboxings, Chanel unboxings, come shopping with me's. And I'm not saying that that's not part of who I am anymore, but we're just different. And we shop differently, and we prioritize things differently, and we're conscious of different things now. And I don't want to ignore that part of my story either, because it's a huge part of my story, because that's where my channel grew. I remember it vividly, because some might say it's luck, some might say I was clever, but one thing I know now is that when there is a new social media platform and all of the young kids are already like slaying it with millions of followers, and they're all watching it and they're obsessing over it, that's a good indication that it's soon gonna trickle up to us grumps that are older. And I started talking about luxury fashion just as that happened on YouTube. So we've just witnessed this happen on TikTok, and that was me on YouTube. Yeah, that was me. Now, if you're talking to my friends, I would tell them that I was definitely the first, but on YouTube, you can check dates. And so I'm not willing to put that out there on the internet. So moving swiftly on. But this video is important to me because I also want to take back my own story in this as well, because there's been a lot of videos made about me over the years, and whether that's why does everyone hate Lydia Millen and all of this kind of stuff. And I think that if this video is here, there's always going to be this reference point for anyone that wants to know anything about me, know anything about my story, that they can go back and they can be like, wow, oh my gosh, that's her story? She started there? Wow, interesting. Okay, that's so interesting for me because I'm there now. Cool. I would not have thought that when she's swanning off around the globe. And that really was me. I was that cookie cutter influencer. As this industry took off, I was at all of the events that I was supposed to go to. I was working on all of the campaigns that I was supposed to. And at one point I was even signed to L'Oreal as part of their like iconic beauty squad. So it really was this kind of whirlwind of an industry. We were all kind of winging it, me especially, because I wasn't the type of person to get along with management. So I did it on my own, and then I hired my best friend and did it that way. And yeah, so I was definitely winging it. I mean, I was double winging it. Sometimes, you know, there were some months where I would be traveling 4, 5 times in a month, in between shooting campaigns for some of the biggest brands in the world. And then the pandemic hit. And I remember thinking, part of me was like relief, but the other part of me was like, what am I gonna do? Like, how am I gonna work? What is, oh my gosh. And in that moment, all of my contracts were paused. All of them. So overnight, just like that, all of my contracts were paused. And again, because this industry was like really winging it. I mean, it still is, but it was really winging it back then. You didn't want to talk about that online. You couldn't talk about that online because also there's so many people that had it so much worse. But also, you didn't want to scare anyone. You didn't want to scare your clients into cancelling and pulling contracts. So you just keep swimming, Lydia. Keep swimming. And then obviously, as a whole, the mental turmoil that this heavy weight of a pandemic had on us was also there. I think that a lot of people turned on each other and it became very, very hostile online as well, especially for influencers. And if there is anyone, I'm your girl, okay? I'm your girl. And then I failed. And it has taken me such a long time to be able to say those words. But it was the beginnings of the end of the old me. And I have grieved for that girl so much because part of me misses her, but part of me is so glad that she's gone. It's so weird. And even being able to like put it into a video to explain to you is so difficult. But as my brand died, I died with it because so much transpired. All of the things that I'd built myself on and built my self-esteem on crumbled. There were people that I thought were friends that turned out not to be. There were clients that I thought I had really good relationships with that I didn't. All of these things that defined me slowly disappeared. And there was nothing left. None of the blocks that I cemented who Lydia Millen was were left. And in that moment, you've lost yourself entirely. And I spoke about it once on my Instagram, and I'd heard it referred to as ego death. But like, I feel like that gives it an edge that maybe it's easy to define it as that. But for me, it's just like, the person that I was no longer existed, and it set off a chain of events over the next few months where if you go back to my vlogs during that time, it was like, and I say that because I didn't know how to approach these things that were happening. And through losing myself, I had a very difficult question to ask myself. And I promise you, there were real points in this journey where I have turned to Ali and I have said, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be on the internet anymore. I don't want to do this. Obviously, that's not the case. But I truly meant it as well. I truly meant it. I was like, Ali, I need you to go and do it for us because I can't do this. And then in that moment of weakness, I had the time where you sort of step back and you have that moment of clarity, and I was like, no, there has to be a way to thrive in this. And I'm not the only person that has experienced the things that I've experienced, you know, multiple cancellations, which has then spilled over into harassment and sometimes even crime. And I had to learn how to think, because what it really boils down to is I love this career. I love this career because I've always been an oddball, and this career, even though it was never supposed to be a career, gave me a community where I felt comfortable to be an oddball. And now there is, you know, over 3 million of us across platforms, of hopefully a few other oddballs too. And I hope that when you're sat here and you watch me, you know, scramble my eggs in a weird way, you're like, ah, kindred spirit. And so I did. And I went away and I learned how to think, how to approach negativity online, how to cope with internet pylons and cancellations and online opinions and cultures. It led me to explore human connection. It led me to explore kindness cultures and online cultures, the differences between human beings and our responses to moments of intense stress, which led me to adopt a much slower pace of life, which then enabled me to reconnect with nature, which then led me to this point in my life now, where I have just written my first book, which is entitled Evergreen, which season by season explores and unearths joy, strength for those that are looking to cultivate more of that into their lives through life lessons of my own, through lessons in nature and the teachings of nature. And in short, it's become my manual for how I live my life day to day. And I felt like I needed to connect that to this space on the internet and to give you an understanding of what to expect moving forward. So that brings me to content on this channel. First and foremost, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments section down below. Any questions whatsoever. Obviously, there will be questions about people that I might have mentioned, and obviously if it's not my story to tell, I can't tell it. If there is gaps or things that don't make sense, unfortunately, I've just got to respect the privacy of the people that I love in my life. So yeah, there's not much I can do about that. But if you have any questions about anything or the journey so far, please let me know in the comments down below. If there's any types of content that you would like to see, whether that's to do with strength, nature, mindfulness, joy, anything like that, let me know in the comments down below. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm turning my back on fashion in any way, shape or form. In fact, because I've always had this love of fashion. However, if you've watched my channel for a while, you will know that over the past few years, the best way I can describe it is I found myself exhausted, and I was chasing all of the trends, all of the new it bags. I kept getting all of this stuff and I squeaked then. Oh God, I'm gonna keep that in. I squeaked. It was like one of those Ally McBeal moments where he gets the squeaky nose. I was buying all of these things and none of it made me happy when I found myself in the darkest point in my life. And so it really made me sit back, take stock and look at what I was buying with a much more conscious head. And I want to bring that to my channel here. I want to tell you about the products that I think add value to your wardrobe. I want to talk to you about timeless fashion. I want to share the products that make the biggest impacts in my wardrobe, the styles that elevate my wardrobe, the items that I think are worth spending money on, vintage pieces, buying pre-loved and the beauty of buying pre-loved, whilst still enjoying fashion on the whole and buying into those pieces that will be new. There will be new items. I'm not saying I'm never going to ever buy anything that's new again. That is first and foremost, I do not want anyone to take that out of context. But what I'm going to be doing is building a set of questions that I ask myself as a fashion lover and as someone who enjoys outfits, the expression, the art of fashion. I want to build a set of questions that I ask myself before I make any purchases moving forward, in the hope that I can make less mistakes, that I can build a better wardrobe, that I can show you the items that have withstood the test of time in my wardrobe. Items like the Chanel pumps that you actually can't see, and I'm pointing to them, they're behind the chair, that I've had in my wardrobe for 7 years and still wear them today. I want to do that side of fashion. I want to do something that I can only describe as conscious shopping. I want to share the items that I think are really worth investing your money in, whether that's timeless tailoring, shirt dresses, shoes, bags, etc, etc. I want you to be able to reference my videos, whether you've noted things down or come up with a set of questions for yourself, so that when you are out shopping, you avoid impulse purchasing, you avoid buying into trends, and you focus more on the beauty of the products, what it brings to your wardrobe, and the timelessness of it instead. I'm hoping to weave these videos into my content over the next few months, sporadically in between vlogs. Now I'm hoping that I'm not going to stop vlogging, okay? That's not what I am intending to do, but what I also do want to do is get a little bit of my life back as well. I want a little bit of an air of mystery about me. Like, I don't want you to know everything about me all of the time, and which is really funny considering I've just told you my whole life story, but that's not the point. I think that there is some times where you are exposed to too much of my life, and I've looked at the stats and we're not hitting that 1 million follower mark any quicker, so no time like the present. So as well as any questions that you might have, I would love to know what content you want to see moving forward, and I really, really want to shake up, especially in my vertical, what you're seeing with regards to fashion, because I think that stuff needs to change, okay? We just need to change, and I just want to create a space where you can come knowing that you want to be a better person, you want to be a better consumer, and you also love fashion, and your intention is to join the dots between those 3 pillars of who you are today. We are not going to be perfect here, and I am not expecting you to be perfect, and if people in the comments tell you you have to be perfect, ignore them. This is a space where we are going to be exploring this together and changing together and making better purchases together and enjoying a different side of fashion that I am so incredibly excited to bring. I'm thinking of all of the things that I intend to buy pre-loved. I'm thinking of all of the beautiful tailored pieces, hopefully that fits all budgets, that I'm going to be able to show you on this channel, and just step away from this side of fashion that is constantly peddling more. And I know that some of you will be sat there thinking, Lydia, this is an hour-long video of you telling us what you've already been doing. But what I'm hoping to do is to put together videos that will make it easier for you guys to do the same as well. You'll know that when I work with clients, when I work with fashion brands, when I work with beauty brands, I do so in the capacity that should you be in the market for what I'm showing you, then I have found you a good option and shown you how to style it. Words that won't ever leave my mouth are words like, you need this, it bag, or making you think that you need to panic when buying something. Nothing is ever going to bring happiness into your world by purchasing it, so you should not be purchasing anything ever in a panic, especially from my videos. What I hope to do is ensure that I'm telling you about good products, good pieces, good items, and showing you how they are workable into your wardrobe should you need it. But this isn't all down to me either. I need you guys to be conscious consumers as well, and I know that some of you love what I do and are just, you are the loveliest people and you cheer me on so much. But I want you to watch my videos. I want you to watch everyone's videos and always have your conscious consumer head on, so that you avoid mistakes, so that you're building a wardrobe that you can wear and wear and wear, to ensure that you aren't getting bogged down with all of the trends, all of the stuff and everything that is going completely doolally in the fashion world at the moment. I just want to point out, where the hell is Fendace, okay? This was one of the things that really tipped me over the edge with this. Everybody's scramming for the Fendace collab, the Gucci North Face collab, and where is it now? Where is it? Nobody cares. because it was a flash in the pan. It was an opportunity to get you to part with your cash in a hurry, and that's not how we should be shopping. And it's something that I want to make sure is coming across more and more through my videos. And I hope that you guys are going away and actually practicing this stuff, because whilst I'm not turning into a minimalist overnight, I know that that's a topic that I have been exploring a lot recently. There are so many of those attributes that I'm bringing into my world, and I hope to be able to share them with you as well. Of course, there is going to be gardening and vlogs and chickens and dog walks and nature and good vibes and interesting discussions and learnings and new skills and life and loss and successes and failures. I'm gonna make mistakes, and I am going to upset you, and I am going to disappoint you over the years that you're with me. And hopefully, if YouTube is still around, it'll be another 11 years that we're together. But I just want you to know that that is what you have to expect from me. But this now feels to me like we're on a journey where we all know where we stand in this. And I am so excited, because one day I'm going to make a compilation of all of the times I've said I'm so excited in my 11-year career. Can you imagine? Excited, I'm excited, I'm excited, I am so excited. And you can even watch my accent change over the entire 11 years of my career. Oh dear. But I want you to know that this isn't going to be some huge shift and everything is going to change. This is just the evolution of me as a human, and I want to make sure that you are informed in this, because I care about you guys so much, and I don't think you realize how much, and I probably don't tell you enough, because I am cold and I don't show enough affection to anyone unless you are furry or fluffy or feathery, and that is my personality trait. And that is how I show love, okay? Sorry. But you mean so much to me, and I feel like I owe you this, just to let you know that we're changing, and I'm always changing, and I am a different person. And whilst I still love the person that I was, she knew so little, and I know so much more now, and I'm still learning, and I will change again, and I hope that I'll be even better when I change again, and I hope that you're coming with me on that. I really do. So here's to new beginnings and this next exciting journey with my book, with us. I am excited to hear about your stories, your learnings. I hope we can cultivate a space where you all feel safe to do so. One of the things I really want to do is build a space here, whether it's on Facebook or whether it's on Instagram, where we build an evergreen community, because I know that this book is going to help you and be there for you when you need it most, and I think that we're all going to want to talk about that and discuss it. And so let me know if that would be something that you're interested in, and to new beginnings. Let's see what happens. I feel like I've made this sound like it's going to be super profound, but I don't know how this is going to plan out, and it's really exciting.